During his walk through Chicago, Donald Trump did something that no one expected. In the midst of the crowd, he stopped in front of a woman sitting on the sidewalk, holding a sign that said, "Veteran in need, please help." What happened after that encounter left not only passers-by, but the entire country in a state of shock. A sudden and meaningful action rekindled hope in the life of someone forgotten on the margins of society. If you like videos like this, click now on the subscribe button just below the video. It was a cold and cloudy afternoon in Chicago. The city buzzed with the sound of hurried footsteps, car horns, and the voices of people crossing Michigan Avenue. Donald Trump, re-elected as President of the United States, had just left an important meeting. Instead of calling for the official car, he decided to walk back to the hotel. His goal was to feel the energy of the city, something he liked to do to connect with the population. Wearing his long navy blue coat and his signature red tie, he walked calmly, ignoring the surprised looks of passers-by who recognized him. It was hard to imagine that, in the middle of such a meticulously planned routine, something unexpected could happen. As he approached a busy corner near Millennium Park, he stopped among the relentless flow of people. Something had caught his attention. Sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall of a building, was a woman who seemed burdened by the weight of the world. Her clothes were worn, her hair disheveled, and her hands trembled as she held a piece of cardboard that said, "Veteran in need, please help." For a moment, the world around Trump seemed to go silent. The scene was unsettling. How could someone who dedicated part of their life to serving the country be reduced to such a humiliating situation? Without a second thought, he approached. The hurried people around him began to slow down, curious about the president's unexpected behavior. As he got closer to the woman, he felt a mix of compassion and indignation. It was clear that this would not be just another day in Chicago. Trump stopped in front of the woman. For a moment, she didn't even notice his presence, lost in her thoughts while holding the small sign that narrated her need. Noticing the shadow forming in front of her, she looked up, surprised. Her face showed the exhaustion of years of silent struggle, with deep lines marked by the harshness of life. "What is your name, ma'am?" Trump asked in a firm but respectful voice. She blinked, wary. It was not common for someone to stop to talk to her, let alone a figure like Donald Trump. After a moment of hesitation, she replied, Teresa Hansley." Trump crouched to be at her level, ignoring the curious looks that began to gather around them. "Are you a veteran?" he continued, pointing to the sign. "Yes, sir, I served in the Army for 12 years, she said in an almost inaudible voice. For a moment she seemed to want to look away, but she continued, "I was sent overseas, suffered a serious accident, and when I came back, everything changed. I lost my job, my home, and now I'm here." Trump listened in silence, absorbing every word. He knew the transition to civilian life could be brutal for many veterans, but seeing it up close, so raw and desolate, was something else. "Why are you here on the street? Don't you have anywhere to stay?" he asked, unable to hide his concern. "I lost my apartment months ago. I couldn't pay the rent. I tried to start over, but it's hard," Teresa replied with simple yet painfully loaded words. Trump was silent for a few seconds. Then, standing up, he pulled out his phone and said firmly, "Teresa, stay right here. We're going to fix this now." As he walked a few steps away to make a call, Teresa's eyes reflected a mix of confusion and hope. It was hard to believe that someone, let alone the President of the United States, was actually willing to help. Trump stood up again and pulled his phone from his pocket. "Margaret, I need you to find a nearby hotel with immediate availability and call a doctor. Someone who can do a quick assessment. This is urgent." On the other end of the line, his assistant promptly responded as she always did. "Of course, sir. Leave it to me." Hanging up, he turned to Teresa. "The first thing we'll do is get you out of the cold. Then we'll see how we can get your life back in order." Teresa looked at him, confused and emotional. "This, sir?" she asked in a soft voice. Trump looked at her seriously. "Because no one should have to ask for help like this, especially someone who has already given so much for our country." Minutes later, the sound of a powerful engine announced the arrival of a black SUV. A smartly dressed driver stepped out of the vehicle and opened the rear door. Trump turned to Teresa, extended his hand and said, "Let's go. This is the first step to changing your life." She hesitated, but the sincerity in his eyes was undeniable. With a slight smile, she accepted the help, taking his hand as he helped her up. The crowd surrounding them applauded as Teresa climbed into the SUV, visibly moved. Trump glanced at those present, and with a brief nod, got into the car with her, making it clear that his mission was just beginning. Inside the warm SUV, Teresa seemed unable to contain her emotions. As the city passed by the windows, she held the sandwich in her still trembling hands, alternating between small bites and timid glances at Trump, who sat calmly beside her. "We'll take you to a safe place tonight," he said with the decisiveness of someone who had already made up his mind. The vehicle stopped in front of a luxurious hotel, where two staff members, clearly briefed about the situation, awaited at the entrance. Teresa hesitated before getting out, as if she couldn't believe this place was meant for her. "Come on," Trump said, once again offering her his hand. Inside the hotel, the staff welcomed her with a warmth she hadn't experienced in years. In the room, a team had already left clean clothes, towels, and basic supplies for her use. Before leaving, Trump gave clear instructions to the manager. "Make sure she has everything she needs tonight. Take good care of her." As he temporarily bid farewell, he turned to Teresa, who now held the new clothes with a look of disbelief. "Rest. Tomorrow is a new day." Closing the door behind him, Trump knew that this night would mark the beginning of a transformation for this woman who, just hours earlier, had been lost on the streets. Here you can rest and recover away from the worries you faced on the streets. When the door opened, Teresa froze. The room was large, with windows offering a breathtaking view of the city, a huge soft bed, and a modern bathroom equipped with everything she could need. "Is this really for me?" Teresa asked, her voice choked with emotion. Lisa smiled. "Yes, and this is just the beginning. You deserve it, and so much more." As Teresa explored the space, she found new clothes, hygiene items, and even some gifts thoughtfully left by the hotel staff. The attention to detail was touching, but what moved her the most was the idea that, for the first time in a long while, she had a safe space to call her own. At the end of the day, as Teresa rested on her new bed, the sense of relief was palpable. She knew the road ahead would be long, but in that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: true hope. The next day, a trusted doctor arranged by Trump arrived at the hotel to conduct a thorough examination of Teresa. From the moment he stepped into the suite, his approach was professional yet warm, helping Teresa feel at ease. He performed a detailed checkup, something she hadn't experienced in years. The doctor measured her blood pressure, checked her heart rate, and assessed the signs of exhaustion and cold exposure evident in her body. After completing the exam, he provided a clear diagnosis. "You are weak, but there's nothing proper care, good nutrition and rest won't fix. We'll prescribe some medications and vitamins to help speed up your recovery." Teresa nodded, grateful for the attention she was receiving. The doctor also discussed the importance of addressing her mental health, something often overlooked by those who face extreme situations like hers. He recommended therapy sessions, and Lisa assured her that this would also be provided by Veterans United. As the doctor left, Trump appeared at the door of the room accompanied by Lisa. He listened intently to the recommendations and emphasized that everything necessary would be done to ensure Teresa received the best care. "I want you to focus on resting and regaining your strength," Trump said, looking directly at Teresa. "Don't worry about anything else right now." She felt a lump in her throat hearing those words. For so long she had carried the weight of the world alone, and now, for the first time, she felt she could share that burden. In addition, the hotel staff continued to care for her with the utmost attention. Meals were delivered promptly, with nutritious and delicious dishes aiding in her recovery. The feeling of being treated with dignity and respect deeply moved her. As Teresa physically recovered, something inside her began to change. Slowly, she let go of the despair she had carried on the streets and started envisioning a different life, a life that now seemed possible. A few days later, Lisa, a representative from Veterans United Support Services, returned to the hotel with good news. The plan to help Teresa reintegrate into society was ready. Sitting in the comfortable chairs of the suite, Lisa outlined each step while Teresa listened attentively, still surprised by the team's speed and dedication. "We've found temporary housing that is safe and accessible. Additionally, we'll arrange training sessions to help you prepare for a new job," Lisa said with an encouraging smile. Teresa seemed hesitant, still unsure of her own abilities. "It's been so long since I've worked. I'm not sure if I'm good enough to start again," she said. Lisa leaned forward slightly, looking directly into Teresa's eyes. "You served your country for 12 years, Teresa. You faced situations that few can imagine. The strength you have is more than enough to overcome any challenge. We're here to make sure you don't face it alone." The words from Lisa were like a balm to Teresa, who began to realize that indeed there was a path ahead of her. In addition to housing and professional training, Veterans United also offered specialized psychological support to help her cope with past traumas. Group therapy with other veterans would also be available, allowing her to share her experiences with people who understood her challenges. This support not only promised a safe space to heal, but also allowed Teresa to forge connections with those who had walked similar paths and could offer guidance and understanding in ways others could not. During the conversation, Trump quietly entered the room and overheard part of the plan. At the end, he reinforced his confidence in Teresa. "I have no doubt that you will overcome this, Teresa. And when you look back, you'll see that this moment was just the beginning of something great." She looked at him and Lisa, emotional yet with renewed determination. "Thank you for believing in me," she said, her voice choked with emotion. The support and belief from both of them meant more than words could express. And for the first time in a long while, Teresa allowed herself to imagine a future that was truly hers. The Veterans United team began preparing Teresa for the transition to her new housing. For the first time in years, she felt that there was a purpose on the horizon, and that motivated her to keep fighting. Teresa knew that the next step would be crucial. Later that same day, Lisa and her team took her to the temporary residence they had found, a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, equipped with the essentials for her to start fresh. When Teresa entered the space, she paused for a moment, taking in every detail. It was simple, but for her it meant something far greater: safety, privacy, and the opportunity to rebuild her life. Lisa explained that this place was only the beginning, and that while Teresa was there, they would work on her reintegration and help her find permanent housing. Additionally, Veterans United had secured something else: a job opportunity at a local organization that supported veterans. Teresa would be responsible for basic administrative tasks, receiving training to get back into the workforce. Lisa added that the job would initially be part-time to allow Teresa to adjust, and when she was ready, they could increase her hours or search for other opportunities that matched her skills. This thoughtful approach reassured Teresa, and for the first time, she felt a sense of hope rising within her. Teresa looked at her, trying to process so many positive changes in such a short time. With a mix of doubt and hope, she asked if they really believed she could do it. Trump, who had decided to accompany the visit to the apartment, intervened firmly, assuring her that not only did they believe she could achieve it, but they knew she would, emphasizing her strength and determination as the foundation for everything that was yet to come. His words, laced with confidence, grounded her even further in the belief that she had the potential to thrive. The job contract included basic benefits, something Teresa had not had for years. This, along with the fact that the Trump Foundation would cover the apartment rent for the first year, ensured that she would have the time she needed to stabilize herself without the pressure of immediate expenses. These practical steps laid a foundation for a future Teresa had almost forgotten was possible. As the team said their goodbyes that evening, Teresa was left alone in the apartment for the first time. As she arranged her belongings, she felt something different, the sensation of having control over her own destiny, something she had thought she had lost forever. For the first time in years, she could see a way forward that was hers to shape, and with each passing day, that hope seemed less distant.